G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff Ukraine War update for the 5th of February 2025. By significant updates, I actually mean it. It's not just clickbait. The first update, of course, is there is already some 2 S-43 Malva. This is the 152mm Russian self-propelled artillery gun. It's mounted on an 8x8. It's a truck. Okay, so it's a large, significant piece of artillery similar to the French Caesar. Though Caesar wasn't French. Ha! I should have called it, named it after someone French. Come on. Okay. They couldn't find anybody significant, of course. Okay, now this is their newest mobile artillery. Now, as they have rolled out new, finished production, this is the premier deployed system. So, as we continue in this war, we should see more of them. Right now, it's believed there are 3, with 1 now on its way. I mean, 1 unit. So there are 4 more, I believe, in total. So, unit being for military. A full military unit with 4 of these artillery pieces. Now they are, of course, not the only variant. Now, since 2023, this has been wheeled out. It's lighter than tracked. It's better in the fact that it's more mobile and has a lower production cost. Now, the standard shell has a range of 24 kilometers. However, it does have assisted projectiles. These are rocket projectiles, and they can travel 29 kilometers. Now, it uses the 2A64, which is found on a number of vehicles. Now that a lot of vehicles have been updated, including a new variant of the Ganschnitt. Now, the Ganschnitt is another mobile artillery. However, there's a longer gun and has a range of 33.1 kilometers. And then there's also the tracked mobile artillery, which uses a turret and can fire 16 rounds in succession and is designed for rapid strikes. Now, this is a tracked vehicle and has been used, and some of those are also on their way. This is what the Russians meant by increasing firepower. They are delivering more heavy artillery to Ukraine. 1, due to high drone use. These have been delayed due to the fitting of cope cages, aka metal mesh screens, to give the drivers time to pray when they see a drone. They also do have anti-drone technologies, and the reason why they're in units is that they have protective troops to deploy against drones, and also part of the division are T-90M air defense variants. These are anti-drone, anti-helicopter tanks. They carry, instead of guns, instead of a main gun, it has anti-tank rockets, and those can be also deployed against drones. However, its primary anti-drone is, of course, its twin gun. Its twin machine guns. Notably the Zu-23, although it's believed they're updating to a 34mm variant to deal with the larger drones, so they take less hits. Now, these are automated, high-precision guns, and they've actually have what they call the skeet shoot, where these tank operators have nighttime competitions where they see how many times they can one-shot a drone with their new 34. Because in the past, they'd have to do burst fire to take out drones. Now, of course, the original models are active. The new model has precision laser, bigger barrel, precision laser, and it can fire projectiles further. Right, the rocket assist 29 and the heavier gun 31 kilometers. So 31 to 33. So it has a tactical advantage against most Ukrainian guns, right? The 155, counter battery systems, the French Caesar, are used along with NASAM and HIMARS to counter battery these units. Now, Russia has deployed armed drones capable of air-to-air operations. These are the Iga-S anti-air missiles entering into service, turning them into hunters. And that's these replace the, I believe it was called the Onatsk, or the Orion. The Orion, I believe, in English. The Orion drone system. This is a replacement, a complete replacement. And these are ground operated by mobile command centers. Now, the M28 has been updated, and I believe it's the MI28NN Havoc, also known as the Night Hunter, has been sent to Iran. But this is a distraction. They have been upgraded with S8 and S13s. These are guided rockets with a 800mm penetration. Slightly better than the Javelin. Of course, they are newer than the Javelin. These have also been fitted on Ka-52s. Now, the Ka-52 is also getting a Salandra anti-troop missile, so they could pepper the front lines. So any counterattack by Zelensky may be met indeed by pretty much the Russian equivalent of a napalm strike. The Salandra missile, of course, they call it a thermobaric missile for a reason. It's loaded with rocket fuel. That's it. Flies over, little hand grenade in the head, blows the casing. The rocket fuel, as soon as it's exposed to oxygen, goes, "I'm on fire now!" And whoosh, it can, I think it's like 3,000 meters per fraction of a second. Like, boom. It's just a big fireball, right? But doesn't actually expand to 3,000 meters. That's the potential it's the potential speed, right? It's just 30 to 60 meters of instant vaporization, 99% kill, which is why Ukraine must be lying about its casualties. Now, there's a close look of the NN, the closest you'll get to it and want to get to it. But there's its Scout variant. The Scout. So there's the N version, right? Knights, and the NN, of course, updated. It carries a heavier payload. Now, there are not many countries currently buying Russian equipment, and you may note that India is not on the list, right? India has not bought Mi-28s. They bought licenses for technologies for their own variants, though I don't think they're made in Russia. They only pay a license. Now, potentially Bangladesh and Kenya and others, they're all allegedly, India's got a modified with foreign instrumentation, but India predominantly has Apaches, a variant of the Apache, but it is believed that India, Bangladesh, Venezuela, and others do actually have the means to produce if they wanted to, right? Russia, a lot of Russian exports are actually assembled in the Russia sends, a team and parts, right, rather than the whole thing. All right, so yeah, it's got this is what's called the X-Blade variant. This is a variation power system, the variant on the blades, whatever, so it can do feathering for for step instead of just a complete turn. That way it can step, shoot, allegedly. Different tail rotors are being tested, but like I said, its airborne missile is similar to that of Javelin. Javelin is similar to the Hellfire in many ways as well. Lots of missiles share technologies. It's their flight profile, their tracking system, and yes, size. But generally, they say how overall, right, comparatively, where would Russian research be right now without the equipment left behind in Afghanistan? So, has it made a difference? New drones, new artillery, new helicopters. Too soon to tell. Too soon to tell, of course. Because the most significant piece of equipment still on the battlefield is the M2 Bradley. But the one that's made the most panic has been the Russian Omsk. And the one that has the most potential to change the war is, of course, artillery, right? The Caesar on the Ukraine side, you have the Caesar and the Polish Crab, and on the Russian side, you have the Mulva. Thank you. Whoops. So, yeah, remember, battlefield deaths are predominantly artillery, mostly wounded. You don't want to be, right, charging machine guns. They don't charge machine guns. They follow tanks, okay? Troops follow tanks, right? Tanks make sure that they snipe at range, right? Making sure the night before, the ground, it's called the softening up. Artillery has hit the town. Long-range missiles have scared off, hopefully, the long-range missiles, and hopefully the air defences can protect them while they advance. And the tanks will fire as they advance as well to try to produce what's called cover fire, and that is it. The troops hope to get to the town and start clearing out bunkers. Now, one of the reasons why this war is so slow is the amount of unexploded ordnance on the field, right? Tanks detrack. It only takes a hand grenade sometimes, but, a few unexploded ordnance and the bottom of your tank is softened up. You start to suffer crew concussion, possible vibrations that have disrupted sensitive systems, detracking from direct explosions. The worst thing you could do is be blinded. A lot of Russian tanks, particularly the T-80, are and have been blinded on the battlefield by lasers from sniping, as both Ukraine and Russia have access to the some Chinese weapons as well as Western weapons, including the much talked about Chinese Dazzler, which is a hit and miss type. If you're a pretty good sniper, you might hit at long range enough of the sensors to blind them. But modern filters are starting to counter that. But either way, new equipment has not changed the battlefield momentum to Ukraine's favour, and new equipment for the Russians has not increased their rate of momentum. However, what it has done is believed to have given the Russians enough of a boost in some areas to suggest that more of this equipment is warranted to increase their efficiency. And by efficiency, I mean the number of kills. And we have seen the number of kills increase, but not significantly. But it has been enough to suggest that this new equipment is making the Russian army more lethal, much to Zelensky's dismay, which is why he has ordered more drones to try and increase the lethality of the Ukrainians. But where does this money come from? Now, of course, he has wasted thousands of drones firing them into Russia, right? While Russia has systematically plucked the fly's wings, and no matter how many times they glue them back on, they get hit again. But of course, that has not meant that Russia has increased its foothold in many areas, and in fact, there are many areas of stall despite new equipment. Again, because it's only it has not been a significant rise. It's only, it's going to take months to deliver it all and train everybody, and so there's only going to be small movements on the battlefield anyway, because don't forget, it's not a major technological difference, right? It's only a slight difference in Russia's favour, because they do have HIMARS, NASAMS, and 155mm artillery. It's not like Germany in the early days of the Somme offensive, where Britain had all the tanks and all Germany had was cope and pointing their artillery at point blank range, which is where the 88 came from. By the time they got enough 88mm guns in the service, the war was pretty much headed to over. So as we move through the battlefield, hardly any change. Little bit of momentum here in the south. Some of Polivskaya has fallen. Ukrainian has not been fully pushed out of these areas here, nor has Russia tried lately. Russia has halted here and dug in, ready for the siege. Meanwhile, they have taken territory here in the north. Some battles, but nothing of significance here, but they have moved closer to Dorpamilia, and the battle continues for Rodinitskia without any change. Russia's had taken significant territory in the above Myriad. Also, all of Myriad has fallen. All of Silia has fallen. All of Slovenia has fallen, and all but the outer this area here. The rural region north of Povosk has fallen. Significant advances by the Russian army to control this junction here of the. I'm not sure what does it say. What? Yeah, it's a weird river, isn't it? Because it doesn't go to the sea. It's an internal canal. Really, not a natural. I think it was a natural river. I think a lot of them were natural rivers. They're created by snowmelts, fed by water from snowmelts. But yeah, they don't go to the sea. They're used internally as like highways. But yeah, they're branches of this big meandering snake here. Now, I don't know exactly the details, but last update for here was a couple of months ago where Zelensky had put 15,000 troops in there, announcing it to Russia, to the world. But since then, nothing. And since then, it didn't has maybe only slowed, but done nothing, but serve as meat grinder for Bavorsk. Of course, you had the meat grinder at the rail junction. Now, Ukrainians are pointing to the fact that this block is free, which means there's still a chance we can take Bavorsk. Yeah. Alright, so we have some advances along the front, what the Russians would call stabilizing the front, which tends to lead to the suggestion that they are forming a border. Now, it looks like they are taking this town as part of that border, and they do control both sides of the river. They have control of a crossing, but they have yet to fully encircle and ensnare this town. But yeah, they are fighting in this town. It's low priority. Again, low priority, but it's definitely Ivanivka. The Russians have set up on Ivanivka and have incursions into Ivanivka, right, to take the crossing. But it's not sure if, or hold the crossing. We're not sure if that's to keep Ukrainians out or to prepare for an attack on Ivanivka. But it goes here, they have taken the town and the crossings, and they are working their way down to squeeze this out. Again, stabilization of the front rather than taking new territory, but they have lashed out. Now they've slowly begun to absorb, turn, using sheer weight of numbers, and they are again trying to take the river crossing here and here. They've, again, Dupanilia, two places, same name. They've taken some of it and some of here, right? And they've increased only a little bit here, and moving to take hold off the Ukrainians here while they continue taking what's left of Fulopol, right? They've made significant advances compared to other days, as well as the fact that in the last 3 months they've been upgrading and working on their third helicopter plant. They've been upgrading their tank production. They have dusted off some T-80s. They're predominantly, however, what they call the Russian Arctic tank. They are predominantly being stationed across Russia rather than being sent to Ukraine, although there's some of everything, right? T-56 all the way through. Now, yeah, T-56 chassis have been upgraded with T-72 turrets because Russia had over 10,000 of them. It was their predominant tank, right? They only made 1,000. These were made for the Cold War, whereas the T-62, T-72, T-80, T-90, they were post-Cold War. They were only made in batches of hundreds, and I think the largest number is the 1,190 T-90s. Now, there have been some breakdowns, smaller batches. They lost some in Chechnya, so there would have been about 2,000, right? And they haven't replaced them all. Right, they've been replacing them slower than usual. That's because they had made the T-14, but the T-14 was too expensive. It's been relegated to test bed and tactics, right? Where you need an enemy tank, use the T-14, right? Now, in the past, T-56s were predominantly used as training. However, they do have a T-72 turret, and they have some of the T-82 external shell. Well, the T-82 is a variant of the T-80, but it's just T-80 version M2, I think, whereas you have the T-90 VM2, which is the air defense variant, but you also have the coming 152mm variant, which is the mobile artillery variant talked about earlier, and of course the missile defense variant, which carries the carries a Combat 2 pack variation on a turret to replace the others. Now, what's happened with drones? Well, other than a few land drones that they've tested, they haven't done much with those, but they are testing a new air drone with a air-to-air missile, clearly aimed at Ukrainian drones. But of course, if anything gets close enough, it too will be shot down. Now, the chances of shooting down an F-16 are greater than shooting down an F-22, and the shooting down of F-35 is even less, right? The F-22 can pretty much stay at a safe altitude and carry out operations much higher than an F-16 can. And of course, you know what Zelensky wants for Christmas. And by Christmas, he means Christmas in July, of course. Yeah, he wants this war over by July, in case you didn't get the hint. So Zelensky has revealed that 55,000 Ukrainian soldiers, official numbers. But Kremlin says, yeah, we're going to keep fighting until you put your signature on that document. But Zelensky has admitted that large numbers are also missing. Now, by missing, we don't know exactly how many Ukrainians have sought asylum in Belarus. We don't know how many, right? But we don't know how many Russia has captured as well, right? But somewhere in between, right? Even the Red Cross admits that they think this number is, quote-unquote, much higher, right? Whereas, yeah, every month Ukraine receives 1,000 soldiers. So if you take it, right, and now he seeks 50,000 losses. Right, he seeks 50,000 dead Russians a month, which to win the war, right? But he receives, right? This is bodies of 1,000 soldiers now, right? Let's go back. Let's go. Sorry, forward. 1,000 bodies a day. So 1, 2, 3. You quickly see, add 3 zeros. That's 1.4 million. That's how many dead Ukrainians there are. 1,000 bodies a day. Yeah. That's how many dead Ukrainians. There's no way. There's no way he's going to... You know what will happen if he tries for 50,000 Russians? That's going to number will double. Easily. Double. Right? As explained before. But I've seen you subscribers. Thank you and welcome. And at least... a quarter of you make it this far for this long. A lot of people only watch the video, skip through videos, looking for bang bangs and boom booms. Alright, here goes. There's only 2 ways to increase casualties. More bodies, right, which means more weapons, or you decrease your range to increase accuracy. You decrease your range to increase your accuracy, you're increasing the enemy's accuracy as well. Now, Ukraine has numerical superiority, but Russia has firepower superiority. And last time I checked, firepower is what kills. So you're decreasing the range and accuracy of firepower, right? Now, yes, you could look at, was it Westmoreland? The American general in Vietnam. The Vietnamese used to close the ranks on him because it's called going under artillery. And not being able to use things like napalm drops. But at shorter range, the American Colt was bloody lethal. So he would tease the artillery to maximise its range to fire over the Vietnamese, pretty much drawing them closer to him, and thus, bang, bang, gone, right? Increasing his casualty rate. But of course, those who were in power quickly took him off the battlefield. You make of that what you will, but I say someone in the Pentagon should have been taken out back. Somebody put their hand around his neck, take a smoke, give it to him, and while he's smoking away, suddenly realise he's staying in a courtyard under a heat lamp, and there's 4 guys with taking aim. Yeah, you sabotage the war. You sabotage the war, man. You do not deserve pity, mercy. Yeah, but in Russia, you don't get to the courtyard. They give you they just put their arms around you, lift you up, throw you in the back of a car, and put 2 in you and drive you off to the pre-dug hole or crematorium. It's the KGB. They have their own crematorium. Or sometimes they take you alive for interrogations, but it's not going to be pleasant. It's crazy, man. But there's only 2 options. You decrease the range, you're making Russian firepower more accurate, and they have the firepower advantage. Right? More drones? Yeah, Russia will increase the amount, have to spend more to increase the amount of air defenses, and it would slow them down. But what's going to happen? Oh, you got more drone. We got more drone. We got more drone too. Putin will go, Omsk, boink, 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 boink. Oh, by Kharkiv, boink, boink, boink. Oh, by Dnipro, boink, boink, boink. Oh, Kryvyi, boink, 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 boink. Mykolaiv, boink, 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 boink. Oh, your drone's coming through Odessa. Boink, 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 boink. Oh, they're coming now by rail. By Pine, by Zemlny, by Ziganov. You know, soon Zelensky will get the point. Okay? You can't escalate. He cannot escalate. Escalation is suicide for Ukraine. Now, this is ridiculous. Right, these numbers lie. It's 1,000 a day, 1,000 bodies a day. That's Al Jazeera speaking. So that's simple maths. 1,000 a day for 1,400 days is 1.4 million. Russia's biggest casualties were in 2022 and 2024. That's it. Last week, they only had 14 dead Russians to hand over. Oh, of course, there's going to be dead Russians in the trenches too. But remember, with Ukraine retreating, they're leaving behind their dead. So that's 1,000 a day the Russians are handing over. How many dead Ukrainians are going with or are dying in hospitals? But if you're looking for the Chechen, he is at the peace talks. So why would the man wanting revenge on Zelensky be at the peace talks? Taking away his war is the best revenge, man. Think about it. What's keeping Zelensky in power? What is more greater? Taking Zelensky's life? He doesn't suffer. No, to live and suffer. To take the war off him. I'm telling you, do not underestimate the Chechen people, okay? Right? They did a deal with Putin, right? That's what the whole Chechen war was about, a deal with Putin, and they got it, okay? They got what they wanted, right? Political rivals, graveyard. Best revenge, right? Best revenge in their eyes, right? Because, yeah, some political enemies like Zelensky, they want him to live so he could suffer and probably die at the hands of his masters either in London or Paris or Mossad. But substantive and productive talks, i.e. they actually have a roadmap. And now they're going to work through the individual sections of that roadmap, moving towards a genuine peace. Why is that? Because the peace guarantees have been all worked out, right? There will be no foreign troops until a violation occurs. So, hopefully, people are listening, taking note, because it does appear people are listening. The right people are listening, but I wished that people would not tune out and make these videos popular so that, because so many people in Europe are listening to garbage, and we've got to liberate their minds from the garbage. I thought I was the one to do it. Obviously, I'm still trying. But key events, Ukraine suffered a lot of damage, and now, of course, pipes. People forget, explosions in the ground do crack pipes underground, right? Especially if you have ground shift. But pressure mounts on Ukraine to reach a peace deal. Ukraine is under internal pressure from its people. They're lying. They're upholding the lies, continuing to claim that Russia only attacks civilians, infrastructure, but it's, Russia has spent more on military than reported, according to German Foreign Intelligence Agency. I can tell you now, the Russian 66%. What are they doing, right? Russia's defense budget is broken into three parts. There is the border, there is the armed services, and then there is the national security apparatus. This is FSB, National Reconnaissance, Nuclear Forces, right? Predominantly it is espionage, but it does cover their big, static nuclear bunkers, a network of bunkers and stuff. But it's also part of that third budget is its government assets, right? The Russian government is a quasi-business. It is not quite free market capitalist, but it is not quite communism, right? It is what you would call crony capitalism, where certain industries are owned by the state, or at least controlled by the state, right? And every year there is an injection of funds. Now, the war draws from all three, right? Because foreign intelligence, national reconnaissance, internal security, then there's the border protection, and then there is the military, right? Now, Russia announces its military budget for static, right? It's static military budget. It does not announce its how much of its defense allocation is spent, right, on the Ukraine war. Right, it does have a war budget, but again, that 127 billion does fluctuate with spending from other areas. So Germany's being clever, but they're not clever, right? It's just the fact that Russians are so bureaucratic, right? You just don't find a line item in their budget and say, yes, this is how much they spend on the military. When you might find the nuclear submarine is actually covered under another department within another branch, and then it doesn't belong to the regular military, it belongs to the national defense, right? Because it's an asset, right? Military nuclear asset. Or the missile on the sub is the asset, and the submarine's a military asset. It is, I know, deliberately confusing so that outsiders can't just wander through the halls and go, hey, where do I find the nuclear missiles? I got a special delivery from Ukraine. Now this is aid, of course. Another aid package. Another day, another aid package. It's like Ukraine gets more spent on it than American schools. who have a lot more. It's freaking ridiculous. Yeah, ceasefire talks. Now, this is a permanent ceasefire. They're calling it ceasefire talks because hopefully they want to get staged withdrawal, right? Because Zelensky keeps bringing up trust and because he's looking for an exit plan, right? He's looking for something to continue this war, right? Where he could go, they broke the ceasefire violation, like how Ukrainian commanders violated the Minsk Accords, and blamed it all on the Russians, you know. Even, yeah, so anybody surprised that Europe is under censorship? And yeah, someone send me my video and he'll say, this video does not exist. Yeah. Must prevent escalation is the key takeaway. The key takeaway from this is Hungary is not alone. Czechoslovakia finally have taken a stand. Slovakia has for some time taken a stand. Poland still remains divided between the Prime Minister and President, each seeming to be somewhat flexible on their stance on Ukraine, which makes it hard for Polish citizens to trust them again. But then if they go with the opposition, they know the opposition will fund Ukraine, everything Ukraine asks for. So it's between a dumbass and a dumbass. You know, you either get ripped off for $100 or $1,000, so you can take the $100 loss. You know, it's like having a wife and a mistress. Should have got rid of both long ago. Alright, so Russian troops liberated 2 communities according to Russia. Stepanovka, and Stravnovokia. I think this one is the one where they went over the river. And this one is at Tarnos in the north, where they took significant territory. Again, 1,300. And so a lot of these are only casualties, right? 1,300 in the fighting in the center, 280, 190, 165, 350, 340, 65. And Russian troops hammered infrastructure over the last 24 hours, keeping up the pressure. But according to an ambassador, that Russia has made it clear that NATO soldiers have a bullseye on their head if they enter Ukraine. But the UK has now made it official that they're rejecting the coalition of the willing to send peacekeepers after, right? Again, you shouldn't be playing troops, you should be playing policemen. You should be training Ukraine's police. You should be increasing security, particularly for their borders. You have Pacific peacekeeping mandates and processes which you are not following, right? Because NATO wants to rock in with long-range missiles and plant them pointed straight at Moscow and say, oh, it's only temporary, just like how Kosovo was temporary, right? Just for the peace. Yeah, so Zelensky needs no peace. Lavrov is... Wow, I said this months ago, Mr. Lavrov. Foreign Minister Lavrov is right, though. Zelensky does not need a peace deal because it means the end of his political career. Well, I've said this often, but, yeah. Russian envoy posts photos on his way to the meeting. Now, people know, right, Abu Dhabi is one of the very heavily policed, usually, so, yeah. So they hold them in cities where they are heavily policed, so they don't have to worry about the nasties showing up with their little placards and nuisances. But we don't know the progress of the talks, but I'm pretty sure that what's laid out is a 20-point plan based on Trump, with the highlighted points of agreement to be worked out for implementation, security guarantees, how they and its triggers and monitoring, and where the borders lie. Right, Zelensky is obviously trying to push back as hard as he can, to delay for as long as he can, but he's under internal pressure to give up every inch that Russia currently has, and to stop them from, because another push and Russia takes another 1,000, 2,000 kilometers. It soon gets from, it's estimated somewhere between 20 and 28% of the Ukrainian economy is gone. Right? If it reaches 30%, Ukraine is, goes from 127 billion a year down. They've lost, right? They're never going to, right, meet that 800 billion, trillion, zillion. They're never going to meet rebuilding in 10 years. It's going to take 20 to 30 years to rebuild Ukraine. And if they lose their second port, well, that slows down their exports dramatically and puts them in third world status. See, most third world countries, though, are landlocked, so Zelensky doesn't want that either, because they'll kill him. If they take Mykolaiv, they'd be throwing him under a bus to get a peace deal. Literally calling up Putin and showing him a video of them cutting off his head, saying, "Now can we have a deal?" It is that desperate for most Ukrainians. They don't care about Zelensky's politics anymore. They don't care about the ultra-nationalists. They don't care even about the nationalists or globalists anymore. Most Ukrainians only care that there's no Russians in their village, and 99% of them want to keep it that way. As we're getting to the point where Russia is starting to run out of territory, that welcomes them. So there is that. So thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and please support the channel. You can support the channel on Patreon, Ko-Fi, buy my books, buy my merch. All my links are in the link tree, description below, in my profile, or scan the QR code on the screen. Appreciate each and every one of you. See you on the next video, and bye for now.